So I'm going to ask Jackson to kick the Q&A off, who helps me with this meetup and is also very much into design systems. He's a principal UX developer at Priceline.com and also opens a ton of stuff like Base CSS and Rebase and React and CSS and JS, things like that. So he's probably going to do a better job than me at asking questions. So we'll kick off with that, and then if there's time, we'll do some audience Q&A. But there's also the hashtag if you want to tweet something in. Okay.
I don't know if I'm going to do a better job with the questions, but I'll try. Thanks for speaking. Those were all really great talks. How are you all feeling? I have some questions on my phone written down. Yeah, I'll have to pass this around. If anyone has any questions, I'm going to go through a couple here, but if you want to tweet at the Ask NYC DSC, that'd be cool. If not, then raise your hand. We'll do it old school style. First question on here. Many folks struggle with gaining support and adoption for design systems. Is there a key tipping point for you where design systems turn from a potential failure to an essential part of everyone's workflow? I can repeat the question.
So I've had two very different experiences with getting people to adopt design systems. The first was when I was working at IBM. And over there, when you have an organization that's so massive, the only way to really gain adoption is through project managers. And it just became like the onus of the organization to say, we're using this in all future product development. So that was the way that it gained momentum. It was less work that we had to do on the ground to get people to use the design system. It was just, here's our team that's building the design system. This is one of our internal products. Now every other team needs to use this that's working in Bluemix. So that was easy. The second one is at DigitalOcean, where it's much more of a grassroots organization. And I kind of talked to that in my talk about getting that support, like gaining that momentum. It's a lot of people ops, a lot of people work, getting people to kind of trust the system, to use it, to show them how good it is for them. Like Gina talked about, you still have to convince people to use something that's good for them. It's kind of like take your vitamins, use the design system. So it's really hard to do that. You have to make the vitamins taste good. Like candy vitamins.
I guess I can speak to the sort of the maybe the other end at a relatively small company where nothing existed until we built it, and for then it was just sort of a case of justifying its existence in terms of what it would allow the team to achieve, finding a way to showcase that. Okay, so unless you want to hire more people, we're going to hit a point where we just can't throughput enough design work to catch up with the engineers. So for us, it was about how do we go from this sort of relatively small product offering into something larger, into something more complex. Luckily, we were able to kind of step in before anything sort of bad or sloppy had been done, and being able to say we should do this sort of this is the right way. We had examples from the community, from larger companies that this is what we can use. There's a lot of resources out there if you need to justify to executives or managers or anything like that.
Yeah, so this is probably us all the time, right? So the show don't tell thing that you talked about, totally biggest part of it is the showing and not telling. When I was at Salesforce, I tried to evangelize why we needed a design system, and everybody kind of rolled their eyes and it's oh, well, we don't, have the time. And we kind of just went rogue and started building it, and then once people saw it, that's when it really took off. And the biggest, I guess, aha moment was when we, our navigation was on the left, and we had the executive decision that now the navigation is going to be across the top. And for one product, that might not seem like a big deal, but we actually had probably 13 to 14 products at the time, with all in different stacks, different teams, different people involved, and we were trying to roll out this global change across all these products. And everybody was freaking out, this is gonna suck, we're gonna have to stop what we're doing, and it turned out to not stuck. Like it actually rolled out really fast, and the engineers were surprised, the execs were surprised, but then they were like, "Oh, let's do that again." Like that's cool. And also the people part of it is like it's a lot of support and marketing. Like we basically we're just product design technology people. We had to put our marketing hats on and our evangelist hats on and be good support people, and that's a huge part of it as well.
Cool, thanks. If you don't mind sharing, what's something you were wrong about that seems obvious now in hindsight? We'll start with Gina this time, if that's okay. Is that okay?
I think like it's less about something I'm wrong about, but more like that I wish I had put my foot down. Is I tend to, because I just want to be such a good collaborator, I kind of tend to let people just like make these decisions, and I would be like, but user research says, oh, okay, well, let's just try this then. And then we find out that, no, we should have just gone with what user research said. So I think like going forward in the design systems work that I do, like it's just like relying on that research and relying on our actual end users rather than opinions of product owners and people that just want to make decisions for the sake of making a decision because they have ownership. I want to make sure going forward that I'm thinking about the end user and all the decisions that I'm making.
I think our sort of failure comes then in when we have empowered engineers making decisions that I or someone else in the product team hasn't managed to maintain, like bringing that work back into the design system. So if we develop a table style in an administrative app, who's in charge of making sure that style makes it back and that philosophy gets involved in the design system again? That's where most of our features sort of come from, is they're developed for products and then we spread them across. So I think we've spoken about that. The importance of having someone whose job it is to make sure everything is up to date, is included, that you're kind of sucking in all the design and the code across the organization.
So I briefly touched on this during the presentation, but when I was working on like the beginnings of the Bluemix design system, it was very much a bunch of young people thinking like, we're going to build this in a really efficient way with SaaS and this folder structure, and everyone's going to love it. It's going to be super like snazzy, and the code's going to be tiny. It's going to be super performant, whatever. So I remember when I was at IBM, I took a trip to Böblingen, Germany, right? And this is just like a little city outside of Stuttgart. And I was talking to the engineers there, and they were like, what the heck is SaaS? I've never heard of this before. And it like really opened that perspective of, these are our users. We are working in a silo. We need to broaden our horizons. And that's kind of when I stopped thinking about things in terms of what I thought was efficient and effective, and started thinking about terms of what my users thought was efficient and effective. And those are two very different things. So mistakes were made. It's fine. We fix them.
Thanks. I like the user and people focus that kind of came out of that. It's pretty interesting. One more stock question, then we'll like switch over to a Twitter question. The people side of design systems often means you encounter people who don't agree with you or the work. With the people that, I'm sorry, I have trouble reading. With the people that, I'm going to start over. The people side of design systems often means you encounter people who don't agree with you or the work. With the people that were most averse that you ended up winning over, how did you do that? Do you have any tips or tricks or sneaky cheat sheets you're willing to share? Luke looks bewildered. Do you have a good answer for that?
So I think that there are a few people that I've disagreed with most during my design systems journeys. And one of them is now the co-host of my podcast, Tools Day. And it honestly all started because we were working on a design system together, and he would have such strong opinions. I would have such strong opinions. And we loved kind of like hashing it out. So if you do have a teammate like that, what we would end up doing is, if we found the conversation wasn't going anywhere, we would take our, pause the meeting, do our own research in the meantime, like look up blog posts, whatever, like form our little mini argument, and then go back to it with the rest of the team in the room to kind of figure out who, I'm not saying is right, but like whose point was more effective in that case. So it was a really cool experience because now we became really good friends through that. Like this means of being able to have these kind of annoying nitty-gritty conversations in like an adult manner where we just kind of paused, took our time, did our research. And I found that that was really effective for when you have a point of contention.
Challenge to a duel. No, so I know it's kind of a really silly answer, but we actually did use this. So usually we try to come to design decisions as a team through our design principles, as I mentioned before, but occasionally you run into a situation where, there's still debate. I usually don't like cussing on a presentation, but there's this article by Cap Watkins called The Sliding Scale of Giving a Fuck. And in this article, he talks about, on a scale of 1 to 10, and nobody's really ever a 10, but like how much is this really important to you? That kind of helps determine like who wins. And in a lot of cases, like we're just debating and we're arguing and we're like, okay, on a scale, where are you? And I'm like, oh, actually, I guess just a 2. So why am I even arguing with you right now? Whereas, Stephanie or Brandon would be like, well, I'm an 8. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yep, okay, all right, let's try it. And then sometimes you're wrong and you revisit it. That's what iteration's all about. But like we needed a tool for when the design principles weren't enough, and that's what we used.
Thanks. I feel like that's a tricky question. Okay, I'm going to switch to some Twitter questions. We have one from Eric Bailey. There was some mention of the need for commitment and time. Any trick to handling the evolution and turnover of systems? Does anyone feel like they want to answer that? There was some mention of the need for commitment and time. Any trick to handling the evolution and turnover of systems? Do you want to clarify? You said it right here.
So to that point, we were saying is like what happens when you change styles, or what happens if you change markup and not styles. Like things change absolutely over time. I think a really solid design system, like when I was talking about architecture, can handle those sorts of things, and so you don't have to kind of start over and have another standard, ideally. But with that, I think versioning is really key because that way developers can kind of pick whatever version they want to use. At a company as big as IBM, when people would version up, when we would increase the version to the next, like 1.0, 2.0, it would take about a year to propagate. That's how long it takes when you're working on these big products, because people have to have time to go back and refactor if there were any breaking changes. What I'm doing right now at DigitalOcean is creating a document, a conversion document for converting from Buoy v1 to Buoy v2. So it's like this massive table of like, here's class A, converting it to class B, which is really helpful if we're going to go back and refactor. But I'm also creating a completely different namespace so there won't be any collisions when that happens. So there's a lot going on. It's really difficult working in existing systems. It's just a lot of like complications to add on to this whole idea of like the already complicated job of building a design system at all from scratch. It's just like all these like asterisks on that, but versioning is like key, I think.
I feel like I only have one note, and it's just like small company stuff. For us, we have to commit to it like it is a product. We treat it the same as our web platform, as our APIs, as everything else. The time is built into sprint schedules. We don't only do code refactoring, we do design refactoring. And part of that for us is making sure that all of our engineers are then capable and comfortable in terms of contributing into the design system. That they feel good writing documentation, that they feel good writing code, that it's not necessarily some sort of like far off castle that someone else is like maintaining for them, that they get to feel not only empowered by using it, but empowered to put back into it, like it's any other product they're working on.
So piggybacking off of what they said, because all those things they said, but just getting into a little bit of the more technical, we had a few different things in place. One of them is design tokens. Most of you probably just think of those as like SAS variables, but we were doing them on a scale that was also driving native and a bunch of other stuff. So initially when we started out, I was thinking we needed a two-tiered system where you have let's use colors as an example, or spacing. You name your scale, and then you reference that scale in your components. At the very beginning, we were like, well, how far do we want to abstract this? Like, should we just start simple for now? And that really came to kick us in the butt, because we had this whole effort where we needed to reduce the white space in our application because some customers thought it was a little too airy. And we called it the lightning tightening. And but the devs got really mad at us because they were like, you promised us that design tokens would mean that we don't have to change anything. You would do all the work. We're like, well, it's not that design tokens won't do it for us. It's that we didn't architect it enough to do it for us. So we can't just change spacing medium, because spacing medium on this button is going to get smaller too. And so we had to learn okay, so certain things need to be a lot more strategic and have multi-tiers. So there were things like that in place. Like another example is initially, when I talk about it, I feel like it sounds really goth, but I wanted to have this whole skin and bones concept because I wanted the structure to remain intact, but totally decouple the visual look, like the shadows, the colors, and all that stuff. Again, we decided, no, that's too much abstraction. But we are launching I'm no longer there. They are launching a whole redesign, and turns out that there was a lot of code that had to be touched again and again. The engineers aren't happy about that. And so just trying to build that infrastructure in. But at the same time, obviously, you do want to be lean about it. You don't want to over-abstract just for the sake of over-abstracting. And then on top of that, we also have, visual regression testing in place, and that's not just on a visual side of things, but also the code side of things, so we can see what code changed. And by doing that, we help it's kind of a lot to talk about right now, but we have they had a lot of tooling in place to basically let devs know what's needing to be updated and what's changed. Where they might be stomping on our stuff with their stuff. So just building in a lot of process and tools was really important for us. And everything they said.
No, you made really good points. Visual regression testing is key, because that's the only way that you see if you broke something. Like a small button change like that. I feel you, girl. That white space.
Cool. We have a question from Dave. I like this question. How important is it to make the design system public? Luke, is your design system public? Do you have a good answer for that?
Our design system is public. We're open source by default, just as a company across the board. And we occasionally get other people who send us nice messages about some of our tools, some of our systems, some things like that. But really, I think it's sort of, it helps us stay accountable to our own standards, that we know that this code is out there in the world, that people can look at it and they can see if we're doing a good job or not. It allows also our engineers' contributions. It allows them to have a nice green checkered field on GitHub, and all their contributions are out there. Very important. And I guess it's a hard thing to answer, I feel, that there is no absolute, is it, isn't it? I know for larger companies like Salesforce, having this huge design system is crucial for just the number of people who need to use it. But for us, it's kind of just a nicety in a way to keep ourselves accountable to some standards.
Yeah, so for us, like it wasn't really a choice because we have an external developer community that builds their own apps and things to put into the ecosystem. So we needed to build those for them, but we also had our own needs too. But I do think it's very much a it depends thing, and sometimes it won't serve you well. I was talking to Mina Markham about this with the Hillary campaign work she did. Like they couldn't put their stuff public because then people would abuse those resources and tools to create fake sites and things. And so it's definitely like it's all about like your end goal, like what you're trying to do. I love to see things go public. I think it's good. It's great for hiring. It's great for the community. It's awesome, but like sometimes it's not right for you.
So I've never worked on a design system while it was public, and it kills me because I love open source and I love working in that way. But yeah, it's hard to open source things when you're working in a bigger company. When I was at IBM, it took about a year and a half to 2 years to open source the design system. It was because every single dependency had to be, like you have to look at every single license for every single dependency of the dependency. You had to email people, ask them if we could use their like product, if they could throw a license on it. It was just insane, this process. And so it's not as easy as you think to open source things when you're working in certain companies that could get sued and have liabilities in that way. At DigitalOcean, I'm trying hard also to figure out the open source thing. I don't know. I really hope that we get there. I think all the reasons you said, like it does improve code quality. It improves your sort of commit messages even. But I don't know how important it is to your product and the work that you're doing day to day.
Cool. Thanks so much. I think we have a few more questions coming through on Twitter. I think hopefully some people will be floating around afterwards if you want to like ask questions in person. I know Joel specifically had some interesting questions that I'm not going to say on the mic. Yeah, thanks again. That was really interesting, really insightful for me at least. Really glad you guys came out and you all came out and spoke.